she made America laugh with just 3 words: "Kiss my grits!" A phrase that became one of the most famous catchphrases in television history. But behind that sass, behind the gum-smacking waitress Flo, who stole every scene on the CBS sitcom Alice, was a woman whose career stretched far beyond a single role. Polly Holliday wasn't just a sitcom sidekick. She was a force of nature on stage and screen, leaving her mark across Broadway, Hollywood, and decades of television. And now, at 88, the world is saying goodbye to the actress who turned attitude into an art form. When Alice first premiered in 1976, most viewers tuned in to watch Linda Lavin's story of a widowed mother working at Mel's Diner. But it didn't take long for audiences to notice someone else stealing the spotlight. Polly Holliday's character, Florence Jean Flo Castleberry, was fiery, unapologetic, and armed with a drawl so sharp it could slice through any argument. Her gum-smacking confidence, paired with that unforgettable line, "Kiss my grits," turned Flo into a cultural phenomenon almost overnight. The brilliance of Holliday's performance was how she blended humor with humanity. Flo wasn't just comic relief. She was bold enough to say what everyone else was thinking. That mix of sass and sincerity made her instantly relatable, especially in a time when TV waitresses were rarely the star of the conversation. Hollywood took notice, too. Within just a few seasons, Holliday earned 3 Emmy nominations and walked away with back-to-back Golden Globes for Best Supporting Actress. Not bad for a supporting role on a diner-set sitcom. But while Flo may have been written as a side character, Holliday's delivery turned her into the beating heart of the show, the one viewers quoted and remembered long after the credits rolled. And with success like that, CBS saw an opportunity that would change Polly's career trajectory forever. When a character becomes bigger than the show itself, networks start seeing dollar signs. That's exactly what happened with Polly Holliday's Flo. By 1980, her one-liners and fiery personality had made her a household name. So CBS decided to take a gamble, give Flo her own show. The spin-off, simply titled Flo, followed the gum-smacking waitress back to her Texas roots, where she tried to run a roadside saloon. On paper, it seemed like a sure thing. Audiences loved Flo's sass, and giving her more screen time felt like printing money. But television doesn't always work that way. The show debuted strongly, even cracking the top 10 in ratings in its first season. Yet behind the scenes, it struggled to find a footing. Without the ensemble dynamic of Alice, and without Linda Lavin's straight woman balance, Flo's character didn't have the same spark. Critics were mixed. Storylines felt uneven, and by the second season, viewers started drifting away. After just 2 years, the show was canceled. Still, the fact that Flo earned her own spin-off at all was a testament to Holliday's impact. Very few supporting sitcom characters get that kind of promotion. And even if Flo didn't last, it solidified Polly Holliday as more than just a sidekick. She was a star in her own right. But sitcoms weren't the only place she shone. Long before the cameras rolled, Holliday had been making her mark on the stage, and that's where some of her most celebrated performances were waiting. Before the catchphrases and TV fame, Polly Holliday was carving out her craft under the bright but unforgiving lights of the theater. Born in Jasper, Alabama, she actually began her career with a different dream: music. She majored in piano at the Alabama College for Women and later studied music education at Florida State University. But somewhere along the way, the stage called louder than the keys. In 1962, she joined the Asolo Repertory Theater in Sarasota, Florida. For nearly a decade, she lived the grind of repertory theater, rotating through roles, rehearsing non-stop, and learning how to captivate an audience no matter the part. That foundation gave her the sharp timing and fearless presence that would later define her television roles. By 1974, she made her Broadway debut in Murray Shizgal's comedy All Over Town. directed by a then-up-and-coming Dustin Hoffman. It was a leap from regional theater to the biggest stage in America, and Holliday proved she belonged. 16 years later, her theater work hit a high point when she earned a Tony Award nomination for her role in Tennessee Williams's Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, where she starred alongside Charles Durning. Critics praised her for adding depth and fire to a character often overshadowed by the play's larger-than-life themes. And theater wasn't just a place she performed, it was where she influenced others. Years later, Dustin Hoffman turned back to Holliday, consulting with her as he prepared for his Oscar-nominated performance in Tootsie. That mentorship revealed something bigger. Holliday wasn't just an actress. She was a creative force whose instincts were trusted by Hollywood's best. But while the stage defined her as a serious actress, Hollywood had other plans, ones that would lead to some of her most unforgettable screen moments. Hollywood loves actors who can disappear into a role, and Polly Holliday proved she could do it all: comedy, drama, and even horror. For moviegoers of the 1980s, one image of her stands out above the rest: the unforgettable Mrs. Deagle in Gremlins. With her icy scowl and ruthless greed, Holliday turned the character into one of cinema's most detestable villains. And when the Gremlins sabotaged her stairlift, launching her out the window in one of the decade's most memorable death scenes, audiences cheered. It was campy, it was shocking, and it cemented her place in pop culture history. But Holliday's film career stretched far beyond one iconic scene. She popped up in All the President's Men, brushing shoulders with one of the most important political thrillers of its time. She brought warmth and wit to Mrs. Doubtfire, and later appeared in Disney's remake of The Parent Trap, endearing herself to a whole new generation of kids. Each performance, no matter how small, carried her signature blend of sharpness and charm. What made Holliday so unique was her ability to slide between roles that couldn't be more different. She could be terrifying one moment and comforting the next, a villain in one movie and a loving figure in another. That versatility made her a reliable presence in Hollywood, a face audiences recognized and a name critics respected. And while the big screen gave her some unforgettable moments, television was where she kept reinventing herself, proving she was more than just Flo from Mel's Diner. After Alice and her short-lived spin-off, Polly Holliday could have easily been boxed in as Flo forever. But instead, she broke free from typecasting and built a television career full of surprising turns. One of her most memorable later roles came on Home Improvement, where she played Tim Allen's mother-in-law. Her sharp comedic timing fit perfectly into the show's rhythm, and longtime fans loved seeing her back in a sitcom setting. But this time, with a completely different edge. She also left her mark on some of TV's most beloved classics. Holliday popped up on The Golden Girls, trading barbs with one of television's sharpest casts. She appeared on Homicide, Life on the Street, proving she could handle gritty drama just as well as light-hearted comedy. Even Steven Spielberg tapped her for a spot on Amazing Stories, giving her yet another platform to show her range. The beauty of Holliday's career was that she refused to be trapped by one role. For every fan who only knew her as Flo, there was another who remembered her for a guest appearance that stole the show. It was proof that her talent wasn't bound by a single catchphrase, but by an ability to command any scene she stepped into. And yet, some of her greatest influence wasn't even in front of the camera. It was behind it, in the creative relationships she built with Hollywood legends. Dustin Hoffman may have been the star, but behind one of his most acclaimed performances stood the quiet influence of Polly Holliday. Years after directing her Broadway debut in All Over Town, Hoffman returned to Holliday for guidance on a very different project, his role in Tootsie. In the film, Hoffman plays a struggling actor who reinvents himself as Dorothy Michaels, a sharp-tongued Southern soap opera star. It was a role that required more than wigs and makeup. It demanded authenticity. And who better to consult than Polly Holliday? the actress who had already perfected that mix of sass, steel, and Southern charm. Reports suggest Hoffman leaned on Holliday's insights to shape Dorothy into a character that felt lived in rather than caricatured. Her input gave the performance an extra edge, and Tootsie went on to earn Hoffman an Academy Award for Best Actor. It's a reminder that Holliday's contributions weren't just limited to her own screen time. She was shaping performances behind the scenes, too. That kind of influence rarely gets credited in the headlines, but it speaks volumes about how respected she was among her peers. To other actors, Polly wasn't just a sitcom star or character actress. She was an artist whose instincts could elevate an entire performance. And while those moments of influence were powerful, Holliday's own career wasn't slowing down. Even in her later years, she kept finding new roles to surprise audiences, right up until her final film appearance. By the 1990s and 2000s, Polly Holliday had already proven herself as a TV icon, a Broadway powerhouse and a scene-stealing film actress. But she wasn't finished yet. Instead of fading into nostalgia, she kept popping up in projects that reminded audiences of her versatility. In the mid-90s, she joined Robin Williams and Sally Field in Mrs. Doubtfire, where her no-nonsense presence added another layer to the family chaos. A few years later, she appeared in Disney's The Parent Trap remake, charming a younger generation who may not have even known her from Alice. For them, she wasn't Flo. She was just that warm, memorable woman on screen who felt instantly familiar. Even into the 2000s, Holliday continued working steadily. Her last big credit came in 2010, in Doug Liman's political thriller, Fair Game. By then, she was in her 70s, but her performance proved she hadn't lost her edge. Though it was a smaller role, it served as a fitting bookend to a career that had spanned more than 4 decades, never chasing headlines, but always delivering when the cameras rolled. What stood out most was her ability to adapt. Some actors from her era struggled once their defining role ended, but Holliday managed to keep evolving, always finding new ways to connect with audiences across generations. Whether it was sitcom laughs, dramatic tension, or family-friendly fun, she left her mark every single time. And when the spotlight finally dimmed, she exited quietly, but with a legacy that refuses to be forgotten. Polly Holliday's passing in Manhattan at the age of 88 marked the end of a career that was as fearless as it was diverse. Her longtime agent and friend Dennis Aspland confirmed the news, closing the final chapter on a woman who gave American television one of its most iconic characters. Holliday left no immediate survivors, but what she did leave behind was something far more enduring. A body of work that spanned generations and genres. For millions, she'll always be Flo, leaning on the counter at Mel's Diner, firing off, "Kiss my grits!" with that perfect mix of bite and charm. For theatergoers, she was a Tony-nominated stage actress capable of commanding the spotlight alongside giants like Charles Durning. For movie fans, she was everything from the wicked Mrs. Deagle in Gremlins to the warm, familiar presence in family classics like The Parent Trap. And for her peers in Hollywood, she was a trusted voice, the kind of actress other actors turn to for inspiration and authenticity. Her legacy is more than the roles she played. It's the way she showed that a supporting character could steal the show, that a woman with Southern sass could become a national catchphrase, and that an actress didn't need to chase stardom to create unforgettable moments. Polly Holliday may have left the stage, but her voice, her timing, and her fire live on in every laugh, every gasp, and every rerun of Alice. Generations to come will still hear her say those 3 little words, and they'll smile. What about you? Which Polly Holliday moment do you remember most? From Flo's diner sass to that unforgettable stair lift in Gremlins. Share your favorite in the comments below. And if you want more stories celebrating Hollywood's legends, don't forget to subscribe.